Hey everyone, thanks for stopping by my channel today. I was able to pick up a couple of the new Fiona Stiles products. I did not buy her entire line or a sample of her entire line simply because she's brand new or it's brand new, and I wanted to pick up a couple products that I knew I might enjoy, get a feel for what they were like, which would determine whether or not I would purchase more of her line. So today in this Get Ready With Me, I will be using a number of her powder products, a shadow quad, a bronzer, and a blush. And I'll give you some of my thoughts and mini reviews on them as I'm using them. So if you want to spend a little time with me, then just keep watching. So we are officially a blank canvas, primed and set and face powdered, and we are ready to go with Fiona and her powder products. So I am going to start with my eyes. I purchased the eyeshadow quad. This is in the shade Barrow. I don't even know what that means. But this is definitely one of her cooler shades when it comes to her compact. She has a lot of really warm ones. And I kind of thought, you know, I'm getting introduced to the brand and I don't really have a lot of cool shadow, whether it's quads or palettes or anything. I always tend to go for the warm. And so I decided if I'm gonna have a palette, I'm gonna kind of grab this one. This palette, I find, winds up creating a really pretty smoky eye. So let's start applying. So I actually find that these shadows are very pigmented. I remember the first day I tried them on, I was like, whoa, that looks like way more shadow than I was intending to apply. So I'm going to use, primarily today, very loose, fluffy brushes because I don't want to over apply these shadows because they are as pigmented and as dark as they are. So I'm gonna start with my crease. I'm gonna use the Morphe M505 brush. It's kind of a dupe for the MAC 224 brush. Both of them just kind of being long and soft and very shadow friendly. I'm gonna start with this really light, it's kind of like a gray taupe. There's a hint of pink in it, but it is a little bit more on the gray side. And I'm going to apply this very lightly to my crease using that Morphe brush. Honestly, it's a hair splotchy. You can blend it in, but it definitely requires a little bit of work. Despite the fact, it actually looks like I didn't apply loose powder to my eyelid. Despite the fact that I did, I feel like it tends to stick where you first touch your brush. So it requires quite a bit of blending. It's still a really pretty color and I think works really nicely. And I love that the shadows are super pigmented because I hate trying to over apply a very pale shadow. But at the same time, there's just makes me flinch a little bit. I feel like there's a little bit of stick, but I think it makes a really nice transition shade. So next I'm gonna go for my outer corner. I'm gonna be using a Morphe E17, which is a very small, fluffy brush. And I'm gonna go for that darkest shade that's on here. In the camera, it looks like it's picking up brown. I feel like it's a hair cooler than that. I feel like it's more of a gray brown. Again, very pigmented, and so I'm going to use a very light hand and a very little bit of shadow so that I can build it as necessary and not overdo it from the beginning. So you can easily see very, very pigmented colors. And again, I appreciate that. So I want to blend in that outer corner a little bit. And so I'm going to take a Morphe E22. It's a very slender but still soft blending brush. I'm not applying any other shadow. I'm just going to take that outer corner color and pull it up into the crease a little bit. Blend it in on the corner, but pull it up just a little bit just to kind of deepen that crease on the outer third of my eye. So I'm going to take a MAC 242, which made my top 5 high-end beauty products round 2 video, which I put up not that long ago, so maybe go check that out. I'm going to use that to apply this kind of pinky mauve shade to my lid. Now again, it's very pigmented, so I have to be careful where I place it. I don't want to put it over top of any of those other darker gray shades because it might want to dilute it out a little bit. I'm going to take my Morphe E22 again, and starting from the outer going inwards, I'm going to blend those two crease colors together, but again, not dragging the pink over the darker outer corner, otherwise that guy will dilute him. I'm gonna take another MAC 242 because I actually have two of those. I don't have very many brushes where I have more than one. I'm gonna take that final, it looks really white. It doesn't play off as white as that. This is the only one in the palette that has a little bit of shimmer. And I'm gonna use it to highlight underneath my brow bone. But again, just going very lightly because it is very pigmented. And also because it has shimmer in it, I don't want this to go everywhere. I will also use the same shade to highlight the inner corner of my eye. Again, very gently. I'm gonna take my e.l.f. Wanzala concealer brush. I'm gonna apply that very dark shade on my lower lash line just to kind of line them and give them some definition. So we are done with that quad. I am going to now finish off my eyes. So now that I'm done with my eyes, I need to dust away the translucent loose setting powder underneath my eyes, which will also take care of any fallout. And I have to say, there isn't really a ton of fallout, but I was just concerned we were using such dark shadows and shades that I wanted to make sure I was prepared. But overall, as far as her shadow quad is concerned, I find that they were really pigmented. They needed a little bit of attention in order to blend them in appropriately, but I feel like it created a really nice look and they were definitely not unpigmented. I do not like an unpigmented, is that a word? I do not like an unpigmented shadow because you just feel like you're applying layer after layer, and that just is so frustrating to me. So, okay, eyes are done. Let's move on to the other two powder products that I purchased. The first one is the Bronzing Sun Veil. This is the shade Ahiko. I have to say this is very similar to Hoola bronzer by Benefit. It's a hair cooler, but I think is kind of magical and similar to Hoola. So if you feel like Hoola is a hair orange for you, I would definitely recommend trying this out. This works well as a contour as well as an all over warming bronzer, and I'm gonna show you. So I'm gonna take my Morphe 523 brush, which is a very dense and angled and narrow, good for contouring. So I'm gonna take a little bit more product than usual, and I'm gonna use this to contour. I always tap and then I tap. By the way, don't ever blow on your brushes because you like wind up spitting on them even though you can't see it, and that's kind of gross. So I'm gonna find the contour, the hollows of my cheeks, and so I'm going to contour just in there. Less is more. Again, I believe this bronzer is pretty pigmented as well, so you want to go with less is more. So I've now created a very nice but natural looking contour. So dab and press. So now, using the very same bronzer, but a different brush, my Bobbi Brown face blending brush, I'm gonna take this same bronzer and I'm gonna use it to warm up the rest of my face. By applying additional product in the contour, it deepened the color just a little bit, and now I'm gonna go in really lightly so that I can just kind of blend it in, but warm up the rest of my face. So you can still see that there's a shade difference, but it's simply because I was able to apply less bronzer using a different kind of brush and a lighter hand. So I think that makes this bronzer pretty freaking fabulous. It's like one-stop shopping. So I'm warm, but I still have a slight contour. And I can use this now on the rest of my face as well, especially since I think I already said, I think this foundation is a hair too light for me. But you can always warm up a light foundation. It's very hard to go the other way. So using this in all the appropriate places to kind of warm my face up. I really like this bronzer. I was actually really surprised. So now I purchased a single blush. This is what they call the soft cheek veil. This is the shade Valley. And it's just a muted kind of dusty pink. I was concerned. I thought, oh wow, that looks pretty pale. By the way, I will be using a Morphe E4 brush to apply this blush. I was a little concerned about the pigment, but again, very buildable, and I was really pleased. It's a, I want to say, I mean, it says it's a, I mean, it looks like a matte. I want to say it's a little satiny because I feel like it's not flat. Whenever a blush is too matte, I just feel like it's ridiculously chalky. I think it's the character flaw of what a matte blush is. But this one, I feel like because it doesn't look like chalk, there must be some level of satin to it. But I really like this blush. She's got some pretty darker shades, which I'm now kind of interested in testing out. Right before I set my makeup, I'm going to apply a little bit of lipstick. I'm going to be using by ColourPop the shade Oh Snap. It's a muted, rosy kind of pink that I think goes really well and complements the cool tone shades of that shadow quad as well as that blush. So that completes this look using some of the new Fiona Stiles powder products. I am definitely interested now in checking out the rest of her line. She has many other products within this line, and I was really impressed with the powder products themselves, and so I want to see what else that she's got. By the way, my final tip is I feel like this is pretty much a very friendly day look. You know, we went very light on the lid, we went very light in the crease as well. You can actually very easily use this same quad and turn it into an evening look simply by switching two of the colors. If you were to use this pinky shade in your crease, but then use this darker gray mauve shade on your lid, you would get a little bit more of a smoky eye and a little bit more of a deeper eye look that could take you into the evening and wherever you're going out that night. So let me just give you a quick and dramatic close-up shot so that you can see the fine detail of everything that I was just doing from a little bit further away. So there you have it, me and Fiona spending a little bit of time together this afternoon. Thank you so much for watching. Have you tried any of Fiona's other products? I'd be interested in knowing what your thoughts on those are, or maybe some of the other blushes, bronzers. There was another bronzer, as well as those other shadow quads. Have you tried any of those? What are your thoughts on those? What should I go buy? I am on Instagram and Twitter. Check me out over there if you have a minute. If you enjoyed this video and learned something, or maybe just had a really good time hanging out with me, then give this video a thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed, I would love it if you would become a member of my G crew. We would all love to have you with us. Regardless, I hope you have a really good rest of the day, and I look forward to seeing you soon. In the meantime, thanks.
If you enjoyed this video and felt like you learned a little bit of something, do you have a little biddle? Bright, splotchy red, and nobody needs to see that, and it's pretty spelled. Oh my gosh, I'm just getting started. So I'm going to start with the dark, no I'm not. Let's start with the darkest shade. I've got the Oh Snap shade by ColourPop. It's a matte lippy stick.